Welcome to Jeremiah's Porch Talks. This is where we take a few minutes and talk about leadership and life right from my front porch here in Sykesville, Maryland. Rain or shine, this is a time for us to reflect, reset, and get ready for whatever comes next in our respective journeys. I'm Jeremiah. Thanks for joining me. Let me ask you something. When people say your name, what comes to mind? Not what you hope they think. What do they actually think? Because here's the truth. You already have a personal brand. Whether you've been intentional about it or not, people have built a perception of you based on what you do, how you show up, and how you treat others. Your brand isn't your bio. It's your set of behaviors. Let's stay here for a moment. You might be wondering, how do I actually know what my personal brand is? Well, that all starts off with honest self-reflection. But even more importantly, it starts with listening. Ask the people around you, what are 3 words you'd use to describe me? When you hear my name, what's the first feeling or story that comes to your mind? This is where you have to put your ego in your back pocket. Sometimes the answer will encourage you, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes the words you will hear will likely sting. But either way, it's valuable feedback, because you can't grow if you don't face the facts. You have to show personal ownership in all aspects of yourself, including what others think of you. Another great tool for determining your brand is to consult with your mentors, close colleagues, and people who care about your development. But here's the kicker. You actually have to listen to them. And then you have to do something about everything that they say and be intentional about building the brand that you want to be. A way of helping you along this journey is to think of feedback as if it were a flashlight. Sometimes you'll be happy with where the light gets shined, and other times you won't. Either way, you now know, which empowers you to be able to act. The next step is to know, what do you do with the information that you learn? If your brand is aligned with the person that you want to be, and that's really important, then congratulations. That means you've been consistent, you've been intentional, and you've probably been resilient through some tough things in your life and in the lives of others. But that doesn't mean that the work is done. Even the strongest personal brand needs regular maintenance. It's just like a house that looks fine on the outside, but maybe a floor or a carpet, or maybe there's a leak and there's a drywall repair that's needed. Maintenance is always needed for your personal brand. So here's a process to help with that. Take an inventory. Where am I growing? Where have I become complacent? And are there any gaps between how I see myself and how others experience me? This is where discipline and restraint come into play. You don't protect a strong brand with grand gestures. You protect it with daily decisions. Your reputation doesn't ride on what you say. It rides on your behaviors and what you repeat and what you do. And now, what if you need a reset or a rebranding? Maybe your personal brand isn't what you hoped for. Maybe it was shaped during a rough season of your life, or maybe it's just time for a change. The good news is rebranding is an absolute possibility. But here's the hard truth. You don't get to declare a new brand. You have to live into it. This isn't just a marketing campaign, it's a character shift. You have to start by defining with clarity who you want to be and chart a course towards becoming that. Not just with vague goals like I want to be better, but with specific things such as I want to be known as a person who listens, or I want to be someone you can trust in crisis, Or I want to show more empathy and less reactivity. Or I want to be known as a person who gets things done. Then start practicing those values in actions. But here's another kicker. You have to do so consistently, and especially when it's difficult. Because people will notice. In the beginning, they'll watch with skepticism, but over time, confidence will grow. And remember, it's your brand. So what you want is for those behaviors, those attitudes, the way people feel about you to become very natural. Now, why is it so important to think about all this? Your personal brand is the story people tell when you're not in the room. It shows up in job referrals. It shows up when you get your name mentioned for a new opportunity. It shows up in how your kids or your friends or your colleagues describe you when you're not around. It really is your legacy. So here's our challenge. Find 2 or 3 people and have them describe you in 3 words. Write those words down. Sit down and reflect with them and ask yourself, do those words match the story you want to be telling about your life? If they do, great. Keep living in that alignment. And if they don't, it's time to start writing a new chapter. Write down 1 or 2 things that you can do to begin changing the narrative. Because it's never too late to change the story people tell when they say your name. That's it for today. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me on Jeremiah's Porch Talks. Rain or shine, I'll see you next time. And always remember to keep the most important things.